Oh, hello. Um, this is a total mess. I decided that I was going to do this week's video on my bed, and I did the spread, and I took clarifiers, and I took the animal spirit card, and whew, it's, well, I just shouldn't move that much, which is kind of crazy because I gotta get my tea, so let me just reach for that. Oh, God, there we go. Cheers. Henry, please don't do that. No. No, 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 no. Come on. So, the full moon in Pisces, over. It was pretty intense, emotional, letting go, feeling like a lot of that stuff that, Henry, do not. Come over here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Not on my cards, please. Or come this way. Henry, you are ruining the flow right now. There we go. Yes, can you please just go to your little place here? Come to your little bed here. Come on. There we go. You don't have to sniff all the cards. Come on. You get that one too. Oh my god. Henry. There we go. There we go. That's nice. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. The full moon in Pisces. Intense. I definitely felt it. Letting go of something intangible. Hooks. There were hooks that were unhooked. And what I'm really getting from this reading, what we'll get into in a little moment, is that there is an enormous amount of trust being required of us. We are in Saturn stationary direct energy. That means that we are essentially standing still. And this standstill is going to last for about another 8 weeks. And we have to get used to it, and we have to feel comfortable with it, and we have to learn to let go of control, let go of avoidance, let go of the incapacity to embrace fully who we are, and that might not necessarily be who we want it to be. And that's a difficult task for all of us. But that said, life is a journey, and without these moments of pause, of timelessness, of restraint, of surrender, we cannot evolve. So it's just a necessary part of the package of being on this journey called life. So I'm going to go straight into the reading this week rather than talking endlessly about emotions and ancient history, because I feel that that's kind of like what the Saturn energy is like right now. It's almost like everything seems a little bit more pointless than it normally would. And so we have to slow down and appreciate the things that we have at our fingertips. The simple pleasures like tea and our little furry friends and a little soothsaying. So, At the center of our reading this week, we have the Nine of Wands, and I'm sure that there's a glare, but I can't even see my camera from where I am because I don't have my glasses on, so forgive me. And the Seven of Wands. This reading is a little funky, I have to be perfectly honest. Actually, before we go any further, let me just let you know that the underlying energy, thank goodness, is the Strength card, with the lovely lady taming the lion with her infinity symbol above her head. That essentially reminds us that we are in the flow of life, and that no matter what we are encountering internally or externally, it is a part of the essential flow. Now, these central energies, the Nine of Wands tells me that we're feeling a little bit weary and wary, and the fact that it's clarified by the Seven of Wands, which is essentially about boundaries and feeling the need to defend ourselves. We may just be coming from this past energy of the Five of Wands, which is jousting, fighting to stand our ground, perhaps having been in a place of disempowerment for a long period of time. And this weariness and these boundaries are all about coming into a place of understanding that only we can provide that sense of self, and that all this fighting is actually just us externalizing the unresolved pain body aspects that we've not been willing to do the work on in ourselves, or that we haven't been able to accept, in all honesty. I mean, that's very often more the case, that it's about acceptance. Again, in relation to the energies astrologically, this Saturnian energy is not so much about not having forward movement, but having forward movement from a place of acceptance, of restriction. In the underlying past, we have the Hangman, which essentially, to me, speaks of having gone into a period of self-reflection and really working hard on self-awareness and coming into a place of, again, better understanding this need for the flow away from the external, away from looking at other people as being the triggers and the causes of our pain or our suffering or our indifference even. We have to hold on to this inner strength, come into communication with this inner strength to better understand the flow that comes from within. Blaming other people, finding ways outside of ourselves to distract us from the very essential work that we need to do on ourselves, that is always at our fingertips, is extremely self-defeatist. And all of this energy is saying, let that go. It isn't even a question of whether or not you have the choice. If you're still doing that, you're just gonna repeat the same cycles over and over again. And I think we can all agree, if we're even remotely esoterically inclined, philosophically inclined, intellectually inclined, psychologically aware and inclined, we don't want that shit. We don't want to go around in circles. We don't want to experience the same thing with other people that we've experienced with other people in the past, and then still be blaming everyone else. So, gone. Hangman took care of that in relation to this strength energy. So, looking into our immediate future, we have some good stuff. We've got the Ten of Pentacles. Again, this is really coming into that understanding that all that flows comes from within. And that in order to have everything that we desire, we have to be in harmony with ourselves. Now, I clarified this, and the nice thing is we got from the Hermetic Tarot deck, the one that never actually shows up on camera, I'm sorry. Once again, the Five of Swords in reverse. Now, the Five of Swords in reverse essentially implies that we are past the strife and the fighting, that we are coming out of that energy, that we are no longer partaking in external battles, and understanding that we don't want to be at battle with ourselves either. Again, the infinity flow that we have within ourselves is the answer to everything. Crowning our reading this week, we have the Seven of Swords. This is a funky card. I never ever can figure out exactly. Well, it always depends on the circumstances of the reading as to how this one gets interpreted, because a lot of people think of it as being the traitor or the sneakiness, somebody doing something behind our backs. I don't know if that's showing up on the camera because I'm so far away, but he's kind of looks like an asshole, basically. Like sneaking away with swords that other people have left. But again, I think it's a boundary card, particularly in this reading. I think that what it's all about is having the certainty of our own boundaries in order to no longer have the need to define those explicitly to other people. That when we carry them, we don't actually need to externalize them. When we believe in our boundaries, when we've worked through the processes to understand why they exist, that it's not just a self-protection device, that it's actually a self-preservation device in the sense of being able to maintain enough energy and enough flow to be our best selves under different circumstances when we are able to give of ourselves. And this was clarified by the Queen of Cups. Now, the Queen of Cups is really, I wish I actually had the card from the Rider-Waite deck because it would be easier to show you the image, but essentially this is the woman, the queen, sitting on her throne, surrounded by the little trickles of water around her, where she has her feet tapped into the water, but she's holding her emotions in balance and in flow, and she is accepting of the subconscious, the darkness of the subconscious, accepting that it is a part of who she is, a fundamental part of who she is, and that it informs her actions and her experiences. And without that, there would be no fundamental reason for our individual existence. And so, in light of the boundary card in the Seven of Swords, I would say that she's clarifying to us that that's exactly where this balance comes from, is in accepting that shit happens. and that it isn't defining of who we are. For everything that's positive, there has to be a negative. We have to exist in that level of balance, and not to delude ourselves as most people do in this corporate capitalist ridiculous nonsense on steroids of like everything is about like finding some kind of ultimate definition of happiness that is like a pill in a bottle or a potion or a lotion or a facelift or a hookup or a Gucci purse or whatever, it's like, hey, shout out Gucci if you want to sponsor. It's all internal. And the sooner we accept that inevitability of the yin to the yang, the positive to the negative, the more enjoyable the challenges become. Because we accept that they are in perfect flow and completely inevitable. Which brings us to the present in our outside world. We got the frickin' tower. Now, you don't really need to see the tower. The tower is always it's either an explosion or an implosion. And I believe that the idea of this particular tower in this reading is that we're talking about not an unexpected implosion, but a constructive, mindful implosion, if that makes any sense. It is that we have come into understanding these boundaries and this lack of externalization of our emotional issues onto other people. This allows us to consciously destroy the parts of ourselves that get in our way. It's like controlled demolition for the soul. And it was clarified by the Four of Pentacles and the Four of Cups. Again, I have no idea why I picked this deck to clarify things, because not only can I not show you what the cards really look like because of the glare, but in addition to that, they're not very picturesque depictions of the card meanings. So you just have to go by what I have to tell you about them. So the Four of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite is the dude that's sitting on his comfortable chair, throne, whatever it is, and he's holding on to his Four Pentacles. He doesn't want to let go of anything that he has, which is also what prevents him from gaining anything else, because unless we let go of what we have, we can't receive anything else. That's just, again, part of that natural flow. It's like, if you have a cup that's like full and you don't drink what's in the cup, it's going to become stagnant. It'll still be a full cup, but it's not going to be a very interesting full cup. So you have to drink what's in the cup and trust that the universe then will provide what is necessary to refill the cup so that it overflows again, and then you can take a drink whenever you want from it and hope that it's a really good wine or whatever it is that you enjoy. But I didn't choose to take two clarifiers. Two clarifiers came out. These two came together, and the other one was the Four of Cups. Now, the Four of Cups, like the Four of Pentacles, the fours always represent that we've reached a plateau. Each card in the numeric order, essentially, in the minor arcana, is like a version of an evolutionary process that we have to go through. So basically, you've gotten to a certain point, and then you're going to be in the position where what you have is not enough, but you're not really ready to look for what it is that you need instead. Something is holding you back. The Four of Pentacles being that you're holding on tight to what you have in terms of money or relationships or whatever, even though you're not necessarily 100% satisfied with what you have in your life. It's not to say that the things that you have are bad. They're like nice pentacles that you have, but you want 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pentacles. There are 6 other pentacles that you haven't experienced yet, and you need to go out and get them. But you're holding on stubbornly, like, probably in need of this controlled demolition of the soul that you're going to do for yourself in order to get beyond that. The Four of Cups is exactly the same thing. It's about emotions rather than material possessions. It is being in that position of the picture on the Rider-Waite card is that of the guy who's sitting there waiting for. He has 3 cups in front of him that he's not interested in at all. He looks completely bored. And there's a 4th cup floating on the horizon, like literally almost in his face, and he's not even seeing it. And that's because he's so concentrated, or she is so concentrated, depending on the deck, on these 3 cups in front of him that he doesn't want. He's just like being miserable and not really paying attention to like something that he could be expanding into. So this tower, this internal tower to me, is about breaking down. Oh, sorry, my leg hurts. Breaking down the barriers that we put upon ourselves because we have reached a point where our boundaries are defined comfortably for ourselves, so that we are able to stop living in a place of defensiveness and limitation. Because let's face it, defensiveness leads to limitation. In our environment, we have the Page of Cups. That's the very fancy-looking young person carrying the cup with the fish in, which, as we discussed last week, is the gift of intuition. It can be the gift of something else emotionally that we lack, that is coming from our external circumstances. So somebody else or some situation around us is giving us the opportunity to grow into a better understanding of our subconscious mind. And, this could be somebody like asking us out on a date. This could be somebody telling us that we don't have to, somebody that makes us feel good about ourselves so that we don't live in doubt in some way. I don't know, it could be anything that makes us feel good, better emotionally, that is on offer from our environment. So I'm not going to relate my own personal experiences to that right now, because, to be perfectly honest with you, I think I do understand where that comes from. It can come from family members that like make us feel good about ourselves, or our friends, like conversations that we have with our friends. Maybe paying attention to the people that do make us feel good about ourselves, and not giving so much space to the voices or the lack of voices of those that mistreat us or don't give us the time of day. This is very uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm doing, so excuse me while I move myself into a more comfortable position. I know this probably doesn't look very comfortable, but it actually is better than what I was doing before. At least for a minute. Okay, so that was the Page of Cups is clarified by the Ten of Wands. Again, I'm showing them to you when you can't see them. And the Judgment card. Again, 2 cards came out to clarify this, which is always helpful because when you get something like that in the environment, it really doesn't make much sense when it comes down to a court card, because obviously not everybody is going to have like the same person show up in their life, so it's more an energy read in that sense. And the Ten of Wands again speaks to a completion. It speaks to a completion of a part of our soul journey. Now, in the last couple of videos, I've talked about this process that I know it sounds very broad, but this concept of understanding how we learn emotionally and the connection between the conscious experience and the subconscious mind, and how the way that we level up in life is by experiencing things that test us and that create, well, tower moments, essentially. Nobody's life is just an endless flow of like gaining and, on some upward trajectory that never plateaus or descends or goes through a correction. That is just not human experience. And in order for us to expand, we have to sit with our subconscious process. We have to allow ourselves the experience of self-care, meditation, for example, exercise, and that in turn allows us to better interact with our environment, to be more receptive in our environment to things that will in turn turn into experiences that then we will consciously process through pleasure, pain, all types of visceral, obvious emotions, that then in turn, with the passage of time, with a little bit of hindsight, we then clarify, sort of like these Hermetic tarot cards clarifying the Rider-Waite tarot cards. We then clarify our emotions internally in order for those to allow us to then grow stronger, more self-aware, more capable of taking on more, of experiencing something that is leveling up. And the Ten of Wands essentially, well, it actually speaks to the process of judgment. Judgment is the moment that we reach the pinnacle, and it's like, from a divine perspective, it is when the angel Gabriel shows up in the clouds playing the trumpet, and the dead are resurrected. So it's the idea that we come to completion of a cycle. So something in our environments right now, probably in this Saturn stagnation period before it goes properly direct in November, is telling us that this is the purpose of this time, is to fully assimilate the experiences and lessons of, I would say, instinctively, the last 2 years. Well, I mean, I say that, anyone who knows me will laugh because that actually corresponds specifically to a period of time in my life, but I do think it's universally 2 years. I think that there's been a lot has happened since the eclipse cycle of the summer of 2017, and I don't know if you guys know, but we have more eclipses on the way. The next one, I believe, is actually on Christmas Day or Boxing Day, depending on where you are in the world, but it's the 25th or the 26th of December, and then there'll be a lunar eclipse in January. And I think that's the end of that cycle. I mean, it will literally, like, when we look back on it with hindsight, it will be the end of an entire era of our lives. Moving on, hopes and fears. I didn't even pull a clarifier on this because nothing would come out, but we got the Knight of Swords, so I'm feeling like this is more fear than a hope, but it could be a hope. It's a card of swiftness, it's a card of decisiveness, it is a card of fast action, and perhaps even a haste that does not necessarily serve us well. So maybe what this is indicating is that our fears and our hopes are both encapsulated in the frustrations of having gone through some pretty tough times, some pretty self-reflective times, and being ready to move into the action part of our lives, and we're still not there. We are still trying to figure out how these emotions fit in, how this process, this self-discovery, this inner balance is going to serve in the outside world. What's the point of it all? Is there a point to it all? And especially when we haven't actually moved into a chapter of our lives where we're putting those things into practice. So I guess patience is essentially what this entire reading is telling us that we need a little bit more of. Now for the outcome, we have the Justice card. We have the Three of Wands, and we have the King of Pentacles. And I asked for a clarifier on the Justice card, and we got the Ten of Pentacles again, which was this card over here that we had in our future as well, so that's shown up twice. And that was the card of plentiful, bountiful energy coming from our own inner balance. In the case of this outcome, justice pretty much speaks for itself in the sense that it is saying that we are going to get what we deserve based on the efforts that we've made, but we have to hang tight, and we have to accept that Saturn is going to take its sweet little time getting us to where we want to be, but we have to trust in the process. The Three of Wands is the card of waiting for our ships to come in, so again, that is the idea that this is a period of hangman limbo still there. Now, it's not a negative thing, because if you really look at the hangman, and I know that you're not going to be able to see that very well, take the risk of coming really close and getting past the... There we go. he's upside down voluntarily. He's choosing to be in that very dainty position, and he has a halo of enlightenment around him. So it's a chosen state of patient observation and respecting the inner process. On the other hand, we have the King of Pentacles. Now, the King of Pentacles is another bountiful card. It is a card indicating that we need to stop, if it comes up in this period of time ahead in this next week, where we are living in self-doubt, or we are kicking ourselves or frustrated, that we have done the work, and so therefore we will reap the rewards. And there's very little else I can actually get out of that message, but I think that that stands in perfect alignment with the Saturn energies, because there is this sense that no matter what we do right now, we are waiting for something else to happen. I don't know if that was helpful. I hope it was helpful. I mean, it's helpful to know that we're universally going through a period of time where we might have a little bit of needing to pace ourselves. Let's do something a little bit more positive and colorful after that reading. Our animal oracle card is, I'm going to show this up close. It's the whale spirit. I hope that you can see that properly and that you're not paying too much attention to how hideous I look when the camera is up that close. But whale spirit it's the first time I've ever actually come across this card. So I haven't actually had the chance to see what it means, but the subtitle of whale spirit is Trust the Great Mystery. So let's read card 65. Whale spirit is an ancient creature who was here at the beginning of time and who has seen everything, felt everything, and heard everything that has ever transpired on this planet. In the hidden realms where all things must gather first before manifesting into form, whale spirit is the keeper, singing the soul of the whole world from the deepest waters of the coldest seas. When whale spirit appears, it is a reminder that there is a great mystery that you must accept without intellectually trying to understand it. Some things cannot be known by the mind, only experienced through the heart, through intuition, and through the peripheral senses that part the invisible veils separating the visible world from the great manifesting consciousness in the hidden realms. Now is the time for you to immerse yourself in the great mystery of spirit and to trust that within the invisible, what you can't see now are the seeds of your intentions being tended by the angels. And the protection message of this card is, certainty is not offered to you right now. You are being asked to trust the process of co-creation. Whale spirit reminds you that your primary reality is not that of the material world, but that of the realm of spirit, from which the essence of your dreams and desires take shape before arriving as a specific form. You must trust absolutely that what will come will be for the highest good. Stay in your present moment awareness and allow the hidden realms to hold your intentions safely until it is time for them to manifest in the realm of form. Let go, for you will not be left behind. Some things take longer than others to arrive. Wow. Well, talk about shitty Saturn sitting around waiting for stuff. I don't know what to say to you guys. I feel like everything has been said. I didn't even see the point of finding a quote for you this week. That's how I was feeling. I just feel like we have our own quotes inside of us for this week. And if we don't, enjoy the silence. Sit with it. Know that with each day, we are moving closer to where we want to be. But that right now, we're just not moving much. So, on that note, this was a one-take video, and I feel like it's a one-take week. Just try to enjoy it. Try to be present. Try to take plenty of time for peaceful reflection, for being with like-minded individuals, for enjoying zoning out, if that's your thing. There's nothing nefarious in what we're experiencing right now, although we are on the verge of the solstice, and that's September 23rd, and that is coinciding with that final of 3 Neptune square Jupiter transits, that another sealing the deal, ending the cycle of the last 9.5 months. So if you're not feeling endings, if you're not feeling resolution, if you're not feeling like something is waiting to shift, then scratch deeper. And on that note, I trust that next week we will move into new energies, and happy solstice. Most importantly, equal day and night. Feel the balance. And happy Libra season too. See you next week. Bye.
I never really wanted this.
Time will find a way.
I never really wanted this.
You can try to exercise your emotional rights,
Or not.
but you should realize that there isn't any northern star,
Just the sun.
You can move with the masses. You can sing with the choir.
Sing.
You could tell the world how much it hurts to your heart's desire. There's a truth somewhere deep inside. To your heart's desire. There's a truth deep inside your heart.
Inside your heart.
Sing your heart's desire.
Sing.
Don't go. Pray your heart's on fire. Burning,
Burning.
burning,
Burning.
burning, burning.